Spoiler alert. The following will contain spoilers for Marvel's What If series. Please be advised. What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man, from E-Man's Movie Reviews. Ooh, we have finally gotten to episode 2 of What If, and I gotta say, this was a heavy one. This is the episode that we get one of the final performances of Chadwick Boseman. We get to hear his voice and everything. I gotta say, I'd be lying if I said this wasn't like a mixed bag of emotions. Hearing his voice, just so full of joy and excitement within the character, to see a different side of T'Challa was definitely something. I mean, it was heartbreaking. It's, special. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but look, you could really tell that Chadwick was having a really good time in this episode, playing the role. But we'll talk about all that a little bit later. Right now, let's focus on breaking down this episode. We open up with a familiar scene from Guardians of the Galaxy with Star-Lord stealing the Power Stone. It's revealed that he's actually T'Challa. The Kree soldier Korath confronts him, but he's starstruck by the famous Ravager. Before the two could throw hands, Korath puts in his application to make this a job interview instead. T'Challa handles him pretty quickly and ends up recruiting him anyway. As T'Challa leaves and is met by other Kree soldiers, Yondu comes through to save the day. They take Korath on their ship and head off. Now I gotta say, I really like the humor here. Korath being such a fanboy of Star-Lord was pretty funny. Counter to Peter Quill's Star-Lord, I love the fact that T'Challa is actually famous. And despite that popularity, he's still very humble about it. Now, if we look at both Peter Quill and T'Challa, I think that the character differences are because of their backgrounds. Peter came from nothing and seemed to always be searching for some level of validity. He wants to be liked, so he tries really hard to be cooler than he actually is. T'Challa, on the other hand, comes from Wakanda, and as a member of the royal family, he's heir to the throne. Fame is nothing for him because he was born in it. Thanks to the humility instilled in him by his father, this is why we've got such a cooler version of Star-Lord, because not seeking attention is a trait that many cool people possess. Back in Wakanda, young T'Challa expresses his frustration of not seeing the outside world. His father, King T'Chaka, lets him know that the outside world is boo-boo and for people that don't wash their hands. T'Challa goes outside the shields of Wakanda, but he's abducted by some Ravengers. They were supposed to come and pick up Ego's celestial child, but they mistaken T'Challa because, all humans look alike. As an explorer at heart, T'Challa didn't mind going out and seeing more of outer space. Now, if you're new to the Black Panther storyline at all, being isolated from the outside world is really a big deal for Wakanda. Keeping separate from the outside world has really been Wakanda's biggest sense of ideology for centuries. What makes T'Challa so special in the entire history of the Black Panthers that came before him is that he's the one that breaks the tradition and opens up Wakanda to the outside world. However, as we see in this episode, his diplomatic skills are taken to a whole new level by him going to outer space and putting that to use. And this is something I need you to keep in mind because we'll see more of this develop in the episode. Also, notice how calm T'Challa was even as a child when he was met by all these aliens. I think we can chalk that up to the Wakandans being such an advanced society that maybe they already knew that aliens existed. For all we know, the Wakandans might have been exploring space already, maybe even setting up an intergalactic empire. 20 years after his capture, we see T'Challa celebrating with his fellow Ravengers. The group recounts all the many adventures of T'Challa, including how he talked the Mad Titan out of eliminating half of the universe. And boom, in comes Thanos because he too is a member of the Ravengers. T'Challa takes a couple of selfies with Drax and runs into Nebula. As they catch up, he mentions to her that Yondu took him back to Wakanda when he was younger, but the country had been destroyed. Hold up. So they just gonna throw Thanos in there like it's no big deal? Just like that? For real? Now, I want you to notice a major difference here, and that's with the Ravengers. They aren't just stealing things the way that they did with Peter Quill. Rather, they are stealing but also saving entire planets at the same time. But we gotta go back to this. T'Challa done flipped Thanos. This man talked Thanos out of the one idea that this Titan had been cooking up for a long time. I want you to get this. Not only does T'Challa go out and start saving the world and stuff on different little missions, but because of the fact that he talked Thanos out of his plan, he saved the entire universe and then made Thanos work for him. I never would have imagined Thanos taking orders from T'Challa. Y'all, I've been trying to tell you, T'Challa is that dude. Now, I know this episode might be exaggerated for comedic purposes, but it's still telling of the nature of T'Challa's character. Anyway, we see Drax is just a humble bartender here. Keep in mind that he's not Drax the Destroyer here because Thanos didn't go on a rampage and kill his family. So he's actually happy with his family and living a peaceful life. You know, thanks to T'Challa. Thanks, T'Challa. We also see Nebula here, and she's not as angry as we're used to seeing her. Now, hold on now. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm just a little mixed on this, but I don't know how I feel about the fact that she's out here calling my man Cha-Cha. I'm just saying, I mean, you know, hey, maybe if, you know, they hooked up or something, okay, I get that. But I'm just saying, you call it, he's still royalty. I'm just saying, you need to put a little respect on the royal name of T'Challa. It is King T'Challa. I ain't never heard nobody call this man Cha-Cha. Anyway, Nebula's got more hair, and who knew that she was a blonde? Now, she still has issues with Thanos. As we can see, she still does have one cybernetic upgrade on her eye, which implies that Thanos was still torturing her to make her better. So we can assume that he did start his conquest to eliminate half of the universe, and during that time, he was still torturing Nebula and upgrading her body with cybernetic enhancements. However, apparently he didn't go that far because unlike in the movies, most of her body is not all the way upgraded. This is yet again because, you know, thanks T'Challa. Through their conversation, we learn that the reason why T'Challa is set on helping other worlds is because he learned that Wakanda was destroyed when he was younger. I love that this becomes his driving force because rather than becoming depressed or non-caring, he turned his negative into a major positive for others. That's the sign of a true hero, with no powers or vibranium suit either. And as some of you might have also noticed, there's no Gamora here either. She's absent because Thanos is not out on his conquest trying to destroy her world. So she's probably hanging out with her family on their planet. Cause you know, thanks T'Challa. Nebula has a new job for the Ravengers. She wants to steal the embers of Genesis, which can repair dying planets and fully restore them. T'Challa's interested because these embers could eradicate hunger across the universe. Only problem is that these embers are in the hands of the Collector. Yondu doesn't want any part of this mission if the Collector's involved. T'Challa gives him one single pep talk and Yondu immediately changes his mind. The team finds out that the Black Order are now running the security detail for the Collector. The plan is to have the Ravengers distract the Black Order and sneak T'Challa into the museum to grab the embers. Now, we talked about this on my last breakdown with Captain Carter, and I was talking about the scene where Bucky was about to fall, but instead of him falling, it was actually Steve that takes the big tumble. Now, I mentioned how it could be a matter of predestination where certain things may still need to happen, even if they are happening in different ways. Here, it seems like with no Thanos going around conquering worlds, the Collector has taken his place as the new top dog, even to the point where he's got the Black Order at his command. T'Challa wanders through the museum in search of the embers. He passes up various specimens and creatures that are being held captive. He meets up with Howard the Duck, who ends up giving directions to the embers. As the Collector is alerted of an intrusion, T'Challa makes a run for it. His Wakandan necklace begins to shine as he passes by a Wakandan ship. While inside, he sees a message from his father, King T'Chaka. The message says that they are still searching for T'Challa's whereabouts. As he wrestles with this new information, Nebula has betrayed the team to settle her debt with the Collector. While in prison, T'Challa confronts Yondu for lying to him about Wakanda being destroyed. So this was actually a pretty cool reintroduction to Howard the Duck. Recall, we saw him in Guardians of the Galaxy, and for some of you old school fans, I'm sure you all remember him from his older movie back in the day. For those of you who didn't know, that space dog we saw is actually named Cosmo. He was a fun little character in the comics, and he was a test animal for the Russian space program back in the 60s. They shot him into space, but his ship got lost and got hit with some cosmic rays. Those rays mutated him and gave him psionic powers, including telepathy and telekinesis. So Yondu basically lied about Wakanda and told T'Challa that, hey, we're both explorers and, family. But that's pretty selfish if you think about it. I mean, look, Yondu mentally manipulated T'Challa into thinking his family was all dead and gone just because Yondu wants T'Challa to be part of his family. Man, look, that's pretty bogus if you ask me. I'm just saying, I don't even think Dom Toretto would approve this level of family at all. T'Challa is brought before the Collector. Nebula appears before the Ravengers in jail and turns on the Black Order. Turns out that this was always part of T'Challa's plan from the very beginning. While everyone was being distracted, Nebula was able to secure the embers of Genesis. T'Challa takes his vibranium necklace and bursts out of his container. Ebony Maw captures him in mid-air, but he's shot in the back by the Collector's assistant. As he tries to escape, T'Challa is stopped by the Collector. Now, I gotta say, first of all, Korath had me cracking up when he was like, "How could you do this to my best friend T'Challa?" I just thought that was so funny. Oh, man. But look, I absolutely love the fact that this entire scheme was all T'Challa's plan, right? The reason why I love this so much is because this taps into like one of the essential abilities that T'Challa possesses from the comics. And for those of you who have not read the comics, T'Challa is a master strategist. The MCU really hasn't tapped into this ability in the movies, but this is what this guy does in his sleep. You know how people make fun of Batman because of prep time and all that? Well, with T'Challa, it's real and not as gimmicky. He's one of the most brilliant people on the planet when it comes to strategy and tactics, and he's the one you want on your side if you're going to a fight or war. So shout out to the animation team for getting one aspect of T'Challa totally right. And trust me, if you take the time to either read the comics or just look up the character, you'll find out that there's even more to T'Challa than just this. During the fight, you probably noticed the weapons of the Collector. We see not only Captain America's shield, but also Thor's hammer. There are also a couple of daggers here that I think could be from Loki. Then, to top things off, he's got the helmet of Hela too. Could this mean that the Collector has already defeated the Avengers? Maybe he's visited Earth to get a super soldier for his collection. Maybe during his conquest, Asgard tried to stop him and they failed. Maybe a tag team of Hela, Thor, and Loki were not enough to stop the Collector. What do you think the possible backstory could be behind all these different weapons on the wall? Let me know in the comments down below. The Ravengers make their escape and Thanos buys them some time by taking on the Black Order himself. While he was getting jumped, Nebula steps in to help. She uses the embers on the Black Order and they manage to get away. Yondu and T'Challa use the good old sticky fingers routine to defeat and trap the Collector. His assistant Karina opened up the cells of the captives so that they could file a complaint with management. T'Challa and Yondu reconcile their differences and make their way back to Earth. T'Challa is finally reunited with his family in Wakanda. Elsewhere, Peter Quill meets his real father, Ego. I think Yondu said it best at the end of the episode when he said that on any planet, among any people, there ain't no place in this galaxy where you don't belong. I think it's safe to say that given the fact that we've unfortunately been robbed of seeing more of Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa in the MCU, this episode is just a small sample of proof that T'Challa, the character, is too important to stop. The key thing to notice here is that this episode showed us the potential of T'Challa's character even without having the mantle of Black Panther. And this is why, if you've been following me on social media, on my YouTube channel, I've been constantly saying that the mantle does not matter as much as the character. Characters make the mantles. We follow the characters. Audiences always care about the people behind the mantle more than just the mantle itself. And this is just one reason why I've been calling for the recast of T'Challa in the MCU, because the character is just too important. Give the mantle to Shuri, give it to whoever you want. That's fine for them. But T'Challa is still gonna change the world, and that's why his story must continue. That's why, in my opinion, it would be a terrible idea if Marvel decided to kill him on or off screen. I mean, there are plenty of other reasons why it's also not a good idea and terrible optics, but that's just for another video for another time. Now, as I said before, this was a pretty emotional episode to get through. I mean, just hearing Chadwick's voice, like I said, you can hear how excited he was. Plus, it doesn't help knowing that, as it's been reported, he recorded multiple episodes. So I want to say he recorded about 4 episodes for What If. So maybe some of those episodes are going to be in season 1 and in season 2. We don't really know. But the fact that this man was dealing with cancer, he could have stayed in bed. He could have rested up. He could have recovered. He could have done something else. But he decided to get up, go to work, and do this for us. Because he knew how important this character was. And he was excited to give us more T'Challa. I'm sorry, but I really don't care what the reason Marvel may have. If they go through with killing his character, I feel like that's a disservice to all the efforts he literally put into giving us T'Challa. But that's just my opinion. What did you think about this episode of What If? What were some of your favorite parts in the episode? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. I really do appreciate it. If this is your first time ever coming to my channel and you're interested in hearing why I'm so passionate about Chadwick Boseman and T'Challa and Black Panther, I definitely encourage you to go watch some of my other videos and take some time to read my viral petition to recast T'Challa. As always, be sure to tune in every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We will do a live reaction where we will talk about the episode of that week. You just come on into this channel, check it out. We always have a really good time just reacting, sharing our opinions about the episode. It's a good time. You don't want to miss it. Of course, you got to be subscribed, and don't forget to hit that bell so you don't miss out the next time I drop a video. In the meantime, I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.